Hey everyone, Gene here. Welcome to our genuine piece on Seaspiracy and the response by MSC. Let's get right to it. So we really like that the process is very transparent on the documentary. We are able to see a lot of the hardships, a lot of the conflicts that they go into, the directors and the producer. I think it's Ali and his wife. So there's conflicts to filming, the interviewing processes, and they can't get access to some places. That kind of humanizes things. I remember some documentaries I watch, I'm not as invested or I don't really feel as interested in them because of the fact that it doesn't feel humanizing. It's kind of a bombardment of information. So I kind of like that about this one. Another one is a step-by-step, pretty well done root cause analysis, I would say. So they are able to uncover many problems within the triple bottom lines, so people, planet, and profit. And then one thing that I found was that it's not racist. So I'm a Korean Canadian 1.5 gen. It starts off with focusing on, Japan and China, and they're able to move forward from there to look into the zoos and aquariums that we all grew up in the Western world going to and kind of supporting in some ways. Arguably the most impactful part of the documentary was the scene on Faroe Islands with whaling. I think they are able to show that it's a global problem. There's no silver bullet that's gonna solve it all at the same time. And speaking of Faroe Islands, next part is I really like there's a piece towards the end with the whaler or the fisherman who does, captures the whale and kills it and stuff. Kind of talking about how he would much rather kill one whale over killing a dozen chickens or pigs or whatever. He's kind of calling people out on being like, hey, if you think whales have feelings, and then you turn around and then after you watch this documentary, you go back and you go and have, a bucket of chicken, then maybe there's a little conflicting idea there. I think that's pretty sobering. I think he's also calling out the cute or relative relatable factor, if I can call it that, because whales, turtles, whatever, we can relate to them much better. And he's like, no, chickens have feelings too. All the other fish that you're eating, they have feelings too. And also I think it was really cool to see the side of the fishermen. They maybe take pride in the job that they do, and that's their livelihood, that's their main income, that's where they live, this is what they do maybe for generations. On the other hand, the downsides of Seaspiracy. One was that they show incorrect data. They show incorrect data many times. So they go against the 2048 fish stocks collapse figure. It's not a valid paper anymore. And then there's also some inconsistencies or incorrect data on bycatch numbers, on plastics numbers, and carbon storage numbers. For me personally, yes, of course it's best if they have the best available information, but I don't want to assume that they were trying to give false data so that we would be fooled into thinking something else. So apparently one example is that the fish nets figure, I think on Seaspiracy they mentioned that it is 40-50%, almost majority of plastics are straight from fishing nets or fishing gear. And the correction to that is they say oh no, it's not 40 whatever percent, it's actually 10%. But for me, as a person who's been hearing about how, the turtle with the plastic straw in his nose, the turtle, or I don't know, all the whales with the plastic bags in his stomach, all we see is what we can do better as a consumer: straws, plastic bags, plastic cups, whatever, utensils. That's all we see. But just the fact that, oh, by the way, there's fishing gear that contributes pretty negatively to this. I don't care if it's 10%, I don't care if it's 48%. I think it's good to know that, okay, it's not just us. There's other things out there that we maybe sometimes forget about. I'm getting rattled. Not really. Next up, people didn't really like the dramatic portrayal. They were saying that, it tries to hit hard at the emotional side. Only try to appeal using dolphins, using the cute factor again, with turtles, with whales, with sharks, with things that we quote unquote actually care about rather than things that don't really come into much interest for us. My thoughts against this is that, first of all, with the music and the cinematography, whatever, it is a documentary, and they had some beautiful, beautiful shots in here. I don't think, for something to be published on Netflix, it should be criticized for having high quality when it comes to music or whatever. Like, if I'm calling it quality, but other people are saying that maybe they could have been more impartial, maybe, in that sense. I don't know. Like, I personally don't think they should be criticized for that part. Next up is the cute factor: dolphins, whales, turtles, sharks. Again, I don't think they really did that. We were able to see a lot of different fish. Yes, dolphins and whales, I think, were the first ones that Ali started with, but it's also a documentary that's trying to resonate with its viewers. So for us to criticize that, it only focused on the animals that we, as in general, care about and will resonate with, I don't know if that's something that we should talk negatively about. If the point of the documentary is to mobilize people to take action, then they're doing a great job, wouldn't you think? And they also, I think, were able to show many different fish. For example, I remember there was one scene, I think it's, I'm going to say Asian because it looks like one of those fish tanks that I saw when I was in Korea, but it's fish tanks, and this guy is like straight up beheading this fish, and all his fish friends are like out here watching, kind of looking concerned. He was able to capture that, and that's just a straight up fish that we supposedly don't care about as much. I don't even know the name of that fish, but I think it's kind of cool that they put that in. And it's not a shark, not a whale, whatever. And there's a lot of different scenes with like the tuna and the small fish that are just like flapping around in the nets trying to get out. I think there's a lot of different parts with many different fish. Another criticism that I have seen was racism. So they say that they focus on Asia too much, as if it's an Asian problem. And I personally, as an Asian person, did not feel that way. In the beginning, maybe a little bit focuses on the cause, but I think it's fair, right? Like, I don't think there's that many countries that are very interested in shark fin. It does end up saying, oh no, like, it wasn't a Japanese problem, it wasn't a Chinese problem, like, look at all this other stuff. Like, they go to different continents, right? Like, I think there's a part about like Somalian pirates as well. There's a part on Japan, of course, and Europe. I think it's able to combine a lot of different parts. But I don't know, I would love to know what you think. There's also criticism against the producer and the director. So Kip Anderson was the creator behind What the Health and Cowspiracy, and I guess people have kind of residual feelings from those films, so they're already taking it like, oh, this is Kip's film, I know I'm not going to really like it. That's kind of what I got. And then there was a vegan post by a vegan organization talking about how Kip only turned vegan in the last couple of years or something, so kind of belittling him and saying that he shouldn't have, like, we shouldn't trust him that much. But I really, really am strongly against that part. It's not like veganism is a rank thing. Like, who cares if you've been vegan for 10 months, 10 years? I don't really care, man. This guy is going out of his way. He might be trying to monetize things, but I don't know, like, everything, you need money, you need income. I would like to give him the benefit of the doubt that Kip and Ali both are trying to uncover the truth behind the exploitation of the ocean. At the end of the day, that's the same goal that vegans should have, I believe, right? You want to protect the environment, you want to be, ethically, socially, environmentally vegan, then you want to protect these animals. You're going for the same goal just because he's been vegan for less, or maybe not even vegan. I don't think it should be such a big problem, and he shouldn't be like disqualified from saying anything like this. The one that I really wanted to talk about was, it's in Korean, it's called devil's editing. It's a dramatic way to say you're editing people's words or interviews and taking it out of context for your own benefit. So there were responses by Oceana, the PPC, Plastic Pollution Coalition, and one of the interviewees, Christina Hicks. But the one that I really want to talk about is the response by MSC. It's titled Our Seaspiracy Response. It came out on March 26th, and So the first paragraph, the first point, counter argument that they want to make is that there is no such thing as sustainable fishing. And then they say this is wrong, blah, 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 blah. And then they go on to say that examples include the Patagonian toothfish, Namibian hake, as well as an increase in some of our major tuna stocks globally. So I was a little bit iffy already reading this part. I was kind of rattled by the fact that they put this Patagonian toothfish before this, what seems to be an amazing, huge accomplishment in the increase in some of our major tuna stocks globally. So I kind of got the vibe that they're trying to greenwash. As soon as we think about Patagonia, the clothing brand, and sustainable clothing, mainly what people think about is Patagonia. So I think this is one of those greenwashing ways of saying, like, we put these little bits of words in it to make you feel like we're doing something sustainable. Oh yeah, we're on the same side as Patagonia. We're sustainable too. That's the vibe I get. There's another example of greenwashing towards the end here, which talks about how the innovation that they did for reducing bycatch. There are some numerous positive examples of MSC certified fisheries introducing innovations to protect marine life, such as modifying gear type to decrease turtle bycatch or adding LED lights to increase the selectivity of the catch. So in this case too, when I first read this, I was like, okay, I think this kind of verifies my point. I don't know about you guys, but growing up, I remember when we're learning about sustainability or Earth Day or whatever in like middle school, they would always mention that the best thing for you, one of the best things you can do at home, for you kids at home, one of the best things you can do to make yourself or make your carbon footprint or environmental footprint smaller is to install LED lights around your house and replace it. So I feel like this is one of those examples where we have a very positive view of LED lights. So I think they are using LED lights on purpose, because I don't think it's that crazy of an innovation to be putting LED lights to shine on the ocean to select the catch, And I don't really give an F that it is LED lights. Why does it matter if it's LED lights or whatever kind of lights? Second part that I want to get into is they keep dropping this number. So they didn't cite a lot of stuff, but they didn't cite the only number that they use in the entire first paragraph, which is more seafood for our growing population, which is set to reach 10 billion by 2050. I just feel like it's not that reliable to see that, okay, they have a number in a year and then they don't even cite it. And actually, more importantly, I don't think it matters that the population is increasing to a certain point. Current general population, I'm sure they have a certain share of their diet that is taken up by seafood, but just because you have more people doesn't mean you need more seafood. I don't think that really justifies anything, and it doesn't, like what Ali was talking about in Seaspiracy throughout the whole thing, is that a lot of these things are replaceable. There's plant-based alternatives that we can use instead of seafood. So I don't really get why they're saying this. Of course, there is the communities that may not be able to afford plant-based alternatives and whatever, but my assumption is with like the main viewers of Netflix's Seaspiracy are not the ones that are in poverty or malnutrition or inaccessibility to plant-based protein. I don't think so. And if they're able to mobilize people that are the parts of the people that are able to replace fish with other types of protein, then I think they can go ahead. They keep dropping this figure. They drop it twice. They say it at the end too, all of a sudden, when they're supposed to discuss sustainable fishing and how that works. They all of a sudden just say, with the global population set to reach 10 billion by 2050, the need to harness our natural resources more responsibly is more urgent than ever. Natural resources, taking the fish out of the sea for the 10 billion population by 2050. Again, like I really don't see, and like I feel like it's kind of a dodgy answer to sustainable fishing helps protect our oceans. I don't think you're really making much of a point here. Okay, and then the third point by MSC is the income figure. In the MSC response that talks about MSC is funded by industry and is not independent. That was the claim by Seaspiracy. And then their response is, our income is derived from two sources: charitable donations from foundations and licensing our blue eco label. So this has a bit of a red flag for me. It says charitable donations from foundations. It kind of has that vibe that charitable donation, it's not even just donations from foundations. I'm pretty sure you can, like, individuals are able to donate to. It doesn't have to be specifically from foundations. The more rattling thing is the order that they put it in. Charitable donations and then licensing of our blue eco label. Their figure shows directly that 81% of their income last year straight up came from the eco label. That's what the Netflix documentary showed as well. That translates to $30 to $40 million US or Canadian. That is 81% of their income. And the margin on this is 94%. Which means if they put $6 into putting stickers, they get $100 back from the companies that are paying for the eco label. They claim that there is no conflict of interest, and that may be true, but at the same time, if you have a product that is 94% profitable and that is 81% of your income source, that's like Google saying that they're not an advertising company. Like, they are. Most of their income comes from advertising. Most of your income, MSC, comes straight from the eco label. Why would you try to... I think it's just so sly, so deceiving that they would put charitable donations from foundations and then licensing of our blue eco label. That is so skeevy, man. I am not having it. Our reaction to this is, one, make this video, and kind of inspired me to, okay, as somebody who enjoys researching into this field, maybe I can make this information more available. It looks like there's a lot of holes and a lot of greenwashing. So I want to share this piece. Next is, we talked about it a lot with our friends. A lot of these topics kind of came about going back and forth with my friend. So shout out to Ushnik. So what is our take? Our take on Seaspiracy is that we actually really enjoyed it. I think it's a good tool for mobilizing people. It was able to have both the artistic field, but also give information in a very, very humane way, very relatable way, very accessible way. Despite all the criticism, I support it, I guess. After reviewing all the criticism that's behind it, I personally disagree with a lot of those points that they were making. So what are we going to do? We are going to continue with our plant-based diet, mainly the ethical reasons, also the environmental impacts that we can. It's a co-benefit, and also the health benefit is also a co-benefit for us. All the stuff about mercury and bioaccumulation, we can just avoid that by, not purely avoid it, but able to mitigate it through a plant-based diet. We would recommend plant-based alternatives. I believe you can always replace with plant-based stuff. If that is less readily available, I think organization backed is still better. It's better than nothing, I think. So if you're going to take it, do try to prioritize those ones with the label. And then lastly, yeah, it's all better than no labels, no nothing, just doing it as is. So this was Gene on the Genuine Piece on Seaspiracy and the MSC response. See you on the next Genuine Piece.